Oh boy, so I finally got around to watching the first two episodes of the Demon Sword Master of Excalibur Academy, and yup, this looks average AF. Now, this did look very average from the trailer and the synopsis, but after two episodes, I have to say it is looking very mundane after what we have seen so far. Now, to go over these two episodes, let's just start with the premise here. So this undead, goddamn, it's late tonight. Undead King was in a fight with the heroes 1,000 years ago, and his side was losing, but he had a promise to keep to someone, some sort of goddess of rebellion, or something of that sort, to find a human being that would be born with her powers or something 1,000 years later. So he went into the depths of his keep and slept, basically reincarnated 1,000 years after. He wakes up to this good-looking waifu girl shooting at his crystal, and that's how he basically comes back to life. But he is reincarnated in his hero form, as apparently he was a hero before he got turned into a demon king by this goddess girl. So he is in his hero form, human form, as a kid, which makes his voice really annoying as well, actually. And that's how he is now. That's how we start the show. We get a ton of, information about the world. We have these voids that came to be, and these holy weapons, and all these other things that it's like, yeah, sure, it's all fine and good, but it's not overly interesting. What I mainly wanted from this show, what I still want from this show, is just seeing Leo, our main character here, using his powers of being absolutely OP and just crushing any opposition and really giving the hurt to anyone he doesn't like, and just living the good old standard power fantasy isekai life. But so far, we have had very little showing off of power. We had a tiny bit in episode 1 and a tiny bit in episode 2, but I really hope we get some nice, big, powerful battles moving forward, and not just focus on some weird-ass, average, mundane character interpersonal drama, because then I will just go off to sleep halfway through the season. I have to say, though, I am not sure what to think of this show in terms of the setting it's in. To put it in perspective, when this girl, who dresses like she's in the Middle Ages in a knight's uniform, well, I guess not Middle Ages, but she dresses like it's not the modern day, I would say, and has a katana as a sword as a weapon. When she is at this door for the crypt that Leo is in, she doesn't recognize the language, so she pulls out her smartphone and I guess pulls up Google Translate to try to figure out what it says on the door. And that's what sort of weird future mix is this? And apparently not only that, this world that they are in, 1,000 years after this very medieval setting that the Demon King was from, we now have jacuzzis and game consoles and karaoke and God knows what else. All the treasures of the modern world, which doesn't seem too interesting, but okay. Now, I did do some analysis in the first episode that I really didn't like, because this girl, Roselia, our main heroine, so to speak, she is with her maid, and her maid has her holy weapon, but Roselia does not, because she has not awakened to her power and whatnot yet at this time. But when they are in these undiscovered, unexplored ruins that they just found on a mission to search out void creatures and such, which are very dangerous enemies of humanity, right? She decides to split up. You decide to split up from your mistress, from the person you are, serving and helping and protecting, because you're the only one with the holy weapon, and you just leave her to do things alone in this potentially extremely dangerous tomb. Even later in the episode, when she's fighting off this void that appears, she tells the now boy Leo and Roselia to run for the surface, which still seems very unwise, as who knows, maybe more voids will appear, which they do. And then Roselia will have no way to protect herself, as again, she has no holy weapon. And this is even more bizarre why she would do this, as these two girls, Roselia and Regina, I believe her name is, the maid, have a really strong bond, because they basically grew up together and have this really high, strong connection because of what happened to them in the stronghold they were in before the one they are in now, because their family was murdered, or Roselia's family was, and etc., etc. So they have a lot of shared trauma, and I'm sure a really strong friendship and love for each other. So just leaving her then in this extremely vulnerable position, without an ability to defend herself, in this place where is extremely dangerous, sounds extremely retarded. Anyways, to not harp too much on all these different things that I find stupid, the show, as I said so far, it's very After we get out of the ruins in episode 1, we get another point that I really dislike, because Regina basically says about this little kid this reincarnated demon lord. Like, this kid is already lewd, And then Regina, the maid, basically plays around with her skirt a bit as they're on this motorcycle to basically tease Leo. And Leo reacts like a little kid. Like, oh my god, he's flushed and embarrassed. It's like, oh my god, no, don't show me that stuff. It's like, okay, god, stop. I mean, he is an undead, 1,000-plus-year-old demon king. He has seen it all, done it all. He's mega powerful, and he's reacting like a little kid to a 15, 16-year-old maid just showing some extra thigh. Like, what? Really? And yeah, sure, the anime explains it right after, with Leo having his inner monologue of, oh, I hate this reaction, but my young child body can't help this physiological reaction to seeing thighs, I guess. I mean, even if that is your explanation for it, your justification for him reacting that way, I hate it. Like, this is supposed to be a mega badass, an undead demon lord king. Like, he isn't some scared little child that should be flushed and embarrassed for seeing some thighs. Anyways, moving on. We finally get to episode 2, and, well, we basically just walk around the town. Leo gets to see how advanced humans have become, because back in the day they were just stupid as fuck, I guess. But now they've built massive cities, karaoke, jacuzzis, everything else. And since Leo has basically lied, saying that he has a holy weapon that he used to heal Reselia with, as she was killed in the first episode, but he resurrected her, or, well, in reality turned her into a vampire, but said he healed her, he is now going to enroll in this academy for swordsmen, or knights, basically, that protect humanity from the void, which appeared like 60-odd years ago, and then these people with these abilities started being born at the same time. So he's going to enroll in this academy, and we go through the motions to get him there. But that's really all that happens in episode 2. Nothing too much, really. Of course, you meet this very standard Mr. Dick, drunk on power guy that basically wants Reselia to join him into his harem, because I guess he has like a mind control harem of girls for some reason. I mean, I guess good for him. But Reselia refuses, because apparently Reselia's squad is like really down and down bad, being really not powerful, not really having any standing, even though Reselia is from a really high-standing family, because she hasn't been able to manifest her power yet at this old age in comparison to most other people. She's like being ridiculed by many of the higher-ranked platoons in this academy. So it's the very standard, interpersonal strife and conflict and such you get in these school-esque settings, which, we have seen 1,000 times before. Nothing new there. I'm more interested in the background of the story here. Like, okay, we hear there are elves, but where are the elves? Are they wiped out? Okay, we hear that sorcery is basically gone now because they don't know what it is anymore. So they only use magical weapons, but how do they make the magical weapons? Or how did that come to be? Like, how does any of this work? I don't know yet. And then we get the end scene of episode 2 with Reselia bringing Leo back to the female dorm, or the platoon's dorm specifically, and she undresses, he undresses, he goes to the bathroom to bathe, and then Reselia comes in to bathe him, because apparently she has no issues with bathing a 10-year-old boy naked together. And as Leo says, the morals of this era are totally different from my own. Yep, they are. Welcome to modern-day degeneracy, sir. Welcome. And then, of course, at the end of the episode, we get the reveal that Reselia is basically a vampire now, or an undead, or something of the sort, as she gets weaker and weaker, and then Leo triggers her, or whatever, so she eats some of his blood to, I guess, get her fill. And then he bursts the bubble that, no, you actually died, and I had to bring you back by basically resurrecting you, but turning you into like an undead of some sort. I guess a vampire in this case. Like, okay. And then I assume we will get the aftermath of that in the next episode. I guess the most interesting part of this show so far could be how Reselia will now deal with her new reality, her new circumstances, and how she will maybe push herself forward now that she will know she is an undead or a vampire or whatnot, and how that will impact her personality, her outlook on life, how she will now interact with her friends, her family, well, friends, I guess in this case, and her school, whatever else, and how that will impact things around her, and how Leo will change things up in the established dynamics in this world, in this academy, on this stronghold, which is apparently the only stronghold left of humanity, because everything else has been wiped out. Like, that might be somewhat interesting, but again, I have to say, so far it feels like an extremely mundane, average isekai and fantasy show. It can be decently entertaining, but so far I have not seen anything that really sets this show apart from any of the 100 other shows in the same genre that do a lot of the same stuff. Again, yeah, we have some isekai, or I guess fantasy, technically. Power fantasy going on, sure. It has some ecchi stuff maybe going on, okay, sure. But it feels very lackluster so far, so they have to really do something special to impress me, to get me to really be on board with this show moving forward. Now, it is unlikely I will cover this show moving forward as well, episode by episode, as it simply isn't too much interesting to cover or too much to talk about, and just harping on it every week is not going to be that useful, I would say. But if you want to see me cover this weekly, then feel free to say so down below in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this episode review of episode 1 and 2, please leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to support my channel and this video. And if you want to watch another video on a newly released show, click right here.